Okay, I'm live and I'm going to be starting with covering the New York elections. Let me share my screen. I'm going to go for the entire screen one. Okay, hopefully some people will start trickling in soon, but there is a lot of elections to cover today. So we are going to be covering New York particularly. Okay. So as you can see here, there's 4 elections going on today. There's Utah, there's New York, there's Maryland, and there's South Carolina, all of which have primary elections that will be affecting the 2026 midterms. Particularly a lot of House races today. However, South Carolina has its governor runoff and attorney general runoff and a few other elections. So there isn't too much really going on in South Carolina. I assume that some of these close races might be a little interesting, but for the most part, David Stumbo won the attorney general race and Alan Wilson won the governor primary, which is pretty surprising because Trump originally endorsed Pamela Avet, and it looks like Alan Wilson, he also endorsed Alan Wilson after the fact. So I think Alan Wilson just got like a second wind of support and was able to pretty easily trounce over Avet, who was doing pretty well in the past. Well, in the first round, not in the past. So in Maryland, we have a lot of results in as well. Incumbent Governor Wes Moore is not really looking like he'll be facing any trouble. And we have in Maryland, we have a Republican primary for an attempt to replace Wes Moore. And it looks like that Dan Cox will be that nominee, but Ed Hale could also be there. That will be a very hard race to win for the Republicans, especially in the year that it's shaping up to be. So Steny Hoyer is being replaced in the 5th district. He was a longtime Democratic leadership member, and it's looking like Adrian Boafo, who is a state delegate, he raised a lot of money. It appears that he is going to be the presumptive nominee and go on to represent this district. And Steny Hoyer did endorse Boafo, so a lot of local politics involved, and it looks like he's going to be the one to take that away. This is definitely going to be a Democratic district. So whoever wins this primary will end up being the nominee. Now here we are going to the 6th district, which is represented by April Delaney, McLean Delaney, and former Representative David Trone, who's kind of a notorious millionaire in Maryland politics, who's kind of been jumping around different seats. And I think this was originally the 2nd seat he decided to run in. He was able to overtake, he was able to win this seat, and then he tried to run for Senate, and he lost to also Brooks, I believe that's her name, who's the incumbent senator of Maryland now. And he's returning back to the House to beat his successor. So it's going to be a close race between him and April McLean Delaney. It could be anyone's race going forward now. This is not going to be a competitive district for Republicans to win. So we have that. And Utah, before we get to New York, Utah has one very key election, which is going to be the 1st district, which is a largely expected to be Democratic district, in which former representative, who's more of a moderate, Ben McAdams, is going to be facing Libin Mohammed, and State Senator Nate Blauen, who are both more progressive. And now the election, where all the elections are happening, New York. We're going to be looking in to New York. So let's see here. In New York, we have we have a lot of primaries. So number one is going to be the 10th district. These are all House races in New York. There aren't any statewide races outside of the comptroller, I believe, or municipal races, but they're very important congressional races with a lot of competitive races. So we're going to go through each one, and hopefully we'll figure out some of the big results coming out of here. So the first big result that I'm seeing, I mean, obviously the incumbent comptroller is doing pretty well. He's facing progressive challengers, but it's really hard to beat an incumbent, even as a progressive challenge. That's just for a race like a comptroller. So I expect him to win that. So that's not going to be that competitive. I'm going to get into each individual district now. So we have the first big one, which is Brad Lander versus Dan Goldman. Incumbent Dan Goldman is getting routed right now by former comptroller of the city of New York, Brad Lander, who had an unsuccessful bid for mayor, but he really kind of he came out strongly backing Mamdani when it came clear that he wasn't going to win in the ranked choice voting system. And Mamdani kind of paid him a favor back by, clearing the field so that Brad Lander could run. And this is kind of a joint progressive movement where you have more left-wing factions and more of the more traditional old base progressives all wanted to go after Dan Goldman, who barely slipped by a primary, I believe, 4 years ago. I think in 2022, that was originally a primary that Dan Goldman won. He was able to win re-election last cycle, but he had always kind of been not the greatest fit for the district. And we now see that he is getting completely routed by Brad Lander. And now we can also jump to the House race, which is showing in the 7th district, which is showing this is considered one of the most left-wing progressive Democratic districts in the country. So you have a large, field of candidates in this race, but it's kind of a dogfight between the DSA in the area, which endorsed, Mamdani, of course, hails from the DSA, and a few other congressional candidates have that backing. Claire Valdez is a kind of a DSA candidate that's running in this district versus more of a working family party, old progressive guard, very left-wing, pretty equivalent on political policy in comparison to the two. Antonio Reynoso. Oh, and big news, already just been declared that Claire Valdez is going to be the new House representative from New York. So that is a huge, big victory for the left factions within this congressional race. Now the 7th district is considered, it was jokingly considered the commie corridor in New York City, one of the biggest areas that came out for Mamdani, and it looks like his endorsement has really pushed Claire to the victory here over Antonio Reynoso, who was widely kind of seen as a long time, worked his way up progressive, getting completely defeated here by over, we still have to count all the votes, but over 20% as of right now. I'm not sure if this is just certain areas coming in. The next race is the 12th district. This was Jerry Nadler's seat. And you have a few different people, all with quite similar views, but you have Lasher, Bors, and Schlossberg, which all are kind of more mainline left Democrats. This is I believe it's in Manhattan, has a large amount of Jewish voters, and they're all kind of running to win a more moderate constituency. You have one progressive, Schwalbe, who it seems like is not going to win, but she was running on a little bit to the left of everyone else. But Lasher was kind of seen as the favorite, and Bors was kind of the big challenger here. Schlossberg was seen as one of the contenders, but it looks like a lot of people strategic voted between Lasher or Bors, which one they prefer. But ideologically, I think they're going to be more progressive caucus Democrats that may shy away of the more left-leaning factions on different issues. But this is projecting. I would say Lasher is in pole position to win this race with 73%. I mean, we will have to wait and see for the last 30%. Anything could swing. It might be certain areas of the district that we don't know. But let's look into the detailed results here, because this could be competitive. This is, the heartland of Manhattan right here. Really hard to tell with, a single constituency, but I would say Lasher's absolutely the favorite to win this race. Not a big surprise, because he was the guy in pole position expected to win earlier. And let's jump over to the 13th district. Now, this is a big anti-incumbent battle. We already have seen Dan Goldman just get dog walked by Brad Lander here. I mean, a 2-to-1 margin in your own district. That is really hard. I don't think I've ever seen an incumbent get defeated that hard, at least in a Democratic incumbent. I mean, there was not a single chance he had tonight. We have probably the biggest close call race of the night. 62% of the votes in, so that's nothing to write off. And you have Daria Liza Villa Chevalier running against Adriano Espelat. Adriano Espelat has been an incumbent, I believe it might have been for 10 terms, or at least for 10 years. I'm definitely sure he's been in office for 10 years. He originally primaried out a longtime Democratic incumbent before him. So he ran, it took him 3 tries, actually. He lost 2 straight primaries in a row, and eventually took down the incumbent. And this is, a very Dominican district, but also very diverse district with a large different community. You have parts of Manhattan and parts of the Bronx. This was more of an area that, Mamdani didn't do as well in, if I remember correctly. We can pull up the 2025 New York mayor election, and we'll have some. I'm going to pull up the New York Times map. Here it is. So as you can see here, it was definitely, actually, I was wrong about that. This is an area that Mamdani performed particularly well in. He kind of wiped the floor with Cuomo here. So he was kind of hoping that with this constituency, he could take that forward and beat out, endorse a candidate and get an ideologically minded candidate in. And yes, this is a race between kind of the old guard Democrats who, I would assume that Espelat is not one of the most moderate or right-wing members of the Democratic Party, but he's definitely not as left as Daria Liza. So we'll actually just call her DAC for short, just because it's a lot easier to say it for expediency. But we have a race going on here with 2/3 of the vote counted. Manhattan, DAC is doing particularly well in. Maybe not so much in the Bronx, but the Bronx doesn't have nearly as many voters. So it's not really looking too well for Espelot right now, especially as an incumbent. You never want to be down 1.5%, but anyone could flip that. It's only a 1,000, well, in this case, 600, 700 vote margin, and you still have a third of the ballots to count. A lot of this could be election day vote, and the early vote getting counted or the mail vote getting counted could lean heavily to Adriano. So we'll have to wait and see what the rest of this is. But this is probably the biggest race of the night. Oh, actually, we just got an update as I clicked away. So I'm going to, okay, 70% of the vote in. Much more indicative there. Okay, yeah, so actually, Espelot, Espé, actually, I don't know how to pronounce that. It's French. But he's more of the Bronx votes are in, and it's shrunk, or he's the lead for DAC is spread against him. So this is actually huge. So I mean, DAC is a very left wing, outside the ball, DSA endorsed candidate, and to knock out a huge Democratic Party incumbent like Adriano would be huge for the left flank of the party, especially an entrenched incumbent for like 10 years. You can win here, you can win anywhere is kind of the message here. And unlike California, New York has actually changed a lot of its election counting policy. So we might actually see them actually finish counting today, which would be a very good dynamic in comparison to the past, or in comparison to California, at least. I mean, really right here, this is the big surprising result. I mean, Claire Valdez is beating Reynoso by around 25% of the vote. This is not projected at all. No one expected it to be this big for Valdez. And it seems like she got a lot of the people that were backing Mamdani to come out and vote again to support, change within the party. And you almost kind of think that, the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, which came out and backed Claire Valdez and DAC in these two races, could have, potentially pushed a candidate in a less competitive district against another incumbent, or could have split the resources a little bit more thoroughly, because, I mean, it doesn't look like Valdez even needed a lot of, ground game to win this race. I mean, 32,000 votes, almost doubling her closest opponent. And DAC, I mean, she really could have used a lot more resources if it's as close as what it is right now. So definitely they did everything they could. But two new seats, you can't complain about that. And then progressives in general are kind of winning across the board. I know that there's a little bit of debate on who really the progressive is in the 12th district. I know that the most left-wing faction are backing Schwalbe, and I know that more moderates are coalescing behind Lasher and Schlossberg and Boers. But really, all of these are going to be pretty solid Democrats. I don't see that much of a difference between the candidates other than a difference in personality. Boers might be slightly more progressive on some issues, but not really on everything. Now, moving to some of the other districts here. Oh, yeah. No. So I guess another thing for those watching, I mean, obviously, like the blue check mark means the race is already called. So if you have the blue check mark, that's what you want. That means you've already won, and we don't even need to continue. Now, I haven't really done too much research on the 17th district. This was expected to be a little bit competitive. I'm going to show where in New York it is. So this is kind of like the New York City metro expanding out into upstate New York. And this is Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, and Dutchess. And with only 8% of the vote in, it's hard to say we have a completely indicative result, but when Kay Conley is winning by double digits in every single county with some results in, I think it's fair to say that Kay Conley is probably going to win this here. And I don't know too much about the difference between them. And another thing that's a little bit different about New York and California and a few different other elections is in New York, we do have, in New York, it's winner take all. And it's a first past the post election. So that essentially means if you get the most votes, you win the election. Doesn't matter who gets second place, doesn't matter who gets third place. If you get first place, the most votes, you win the election. Doesn't matter if you get 10% of the vote or 100% of the vote. You win the election if you get first. And so, you know, in California, it really mattered who got second. So like, you know, in New York, it might have been more interesting because like as you see in the 13th district, had this would go to a runoff. It would likely go to a runoff if the top two advanced, but it's not looking like we have that. Now, this is looking more and more likely as DAC keeps expanding upon her lead as more votes get counted. Like she will pull off one of the biggest upsets in New York political history, reminiscent of the 2018 victory that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had in her district, taking down Joe Crowley, which historically was extremely significant. But we're going to have to wait and see if that's actually what's going to happen. I would say with her in the lead right now, that's definitely the most likely outcome. And this is going to be a tough night for some, you know, more moderate Democrats because it's looking like another New York sweep reminiscent of the Mamdani original win just a few, I think about a little bit less than a year ago, I believe. I may be wrong with that though. Let's try to look at some of these other districts out here. So, I mean, Kay Conley's a big one. Now, AOC had a challenger, looks like Philippe Garcia, and it appears that she won in that district 87% to 7% as of right now. So, yeah, not even close. Then you have Suozzi, who's more of a moderate Democratic, or actually, no, I could be wrong about that. I don't remember. Let's see, what's another important race here? You have some competitive races out here. I mean, Elman and Kassenbaum, Geese and Stocker. I mean, pretty interesting. But a lot of very close race, or not too many very close races, other than the 12th and 7th district. It's a little rare that you have in one cycle so many open seats. I mean, in New York, it's a big state, but I mean, you have the 7th district, the 10th district, the 12th, and the 13th, 17th as well, and I believe the 21st. So these are all big races. I mean, two of which are anti-incumbent races, but it's a pretty surprising set of results. We're going to take a break looking at New York and then jump to South Carolina now. So we can see that Alan Wilson definitely is shored up enough support to win. And same thing with David Stumbo. And looks like they're calling some of these close house races, state house races runoffs. This one's a close one for the 1st district. I don't think this is going to end up being a tough primary race because I think this is a very gerrymandered district, but it looks like Honeycutt has defeated Smith in this race. Costa Honeycutt. And then the Democrats are in a tough race for second. Nancy LaCour and McNaford. Yeah, this is going to be a safe Republican seat, I believe, unless there's like a super blue wave or something. They like cut it. Wow. They cut Charleston so that it's pretty much none of Charleston and all of the exurbs of it, and then Hilton Head. So it's a very cut up district. Let's look at Maryland again. Yep. Adrian Boafo was elected here, and it looks like it's confirmed. So he'll be the next. He'll be filling Steny Hoyer's position. I would say one interesting thing about this is a more moderate Democrat winning and in an open race, whereas you see in New York, it's Valdez winning was more progressive, but really kind of is district dependent on which candidates on which wing of the party they're on. Now let's see if there's any Republican results. They're really in all of those open seats. There aren't really too much. There's really not much chance a Republican wins any of them. You have the 21st district, which will be probably, I think this one's going to be competitive, the 21st district. Yeah, that's the Northeast. You have Constantino versus Smolin, and it looks like Constantino has this in the bag. I would find it really hard to say that Smolin can take that lead. Now, you had another big primary in the 6th district. This one didn't get as much attention, but you had Grace Meng being faced off by primary challenger Chuck Park. And it does look that Meng has pulled it out, but I would really be worried if I were her for a more solid primary challenger going against her. So if 2 years from now, if the DSA runs somebody or something like that against her, that could be a little bit of a problem if they're able to mobilize a big enough base. But it is in a part of Queens, which is not, this is more of a area of Queens that backed Cuomo. So while it does have some, areas that went for Mamdani, I would say that this is a much more moderate district, and a lot of the voters might be tapped into that, and would be harder for a more progressive challenger like Park to win. So I do think that the progressive wings of the party and represented through Working Families Party and DSA, they really kind of they knew which races to invest in. They're definitely something that the establishment cannot write off, because they went all in and they just straight up dog walked. I mean, well, in this case, it was a DSA versus Working Family Party grudge match for the most progressive or left-wing district in the country on Valdez and Reynoso. And it looks like Valdez completely mopped the floor with Reynoso. I mean, 25%. People were saying she might only win by 10%. This is kind of indicative of the DSA has quite a mobilization machine that is kind of unheard of in New York politics in getting primary voters and getting young people to vote. And that is a little bit unprecedented. I mean, maybe a lot of people jump ship from Reynoso to Valdez, or Reynoso didn't have that big of an internal coalition to win. My understanding that he was like a borough president, I thought. It definitely it's an interesting election there. With 79% of the vote in, DAC continues to pick up her lead on Espaillat. Let me try to check some of the live reactions that people are having. My Twitter is very curtailed to election politics. I mean, yeah, this is the picture just a little bit ago. I mean, this is with 42% in. It's very close, but now with 70% in, 80% in, it's not that close. So unless all of these votes that still have to be counted are like mail-in ballots from like 60 plus voters, oh, okay. I think I'm ready to call it. I think that Dariliza Avila Chevalier has officially defeated Adriano. I'm going to make the call. I'm going to make the call right now. I'm going to message my friend who is knows more about that race right now, and I'm going to like. But yeah, Daria Liza, I think that she officially did it with 18% left, and she has a 2,000 vote lead. While I do think that it could flip, I just don't think the votes are still. I just don't think that Espelad has the votes. So I think DAC upset him, and I think she won by damn near 3%. 3% of the vote. That is crazy. This is a strong incumbent getting upset. This is this appears that the Democratic Tea Party is finally here. You have these anti-incumbents running against or like in primary challengers running against strong incumbents. This is the leader of the Hispanic caucus in Congress, and he was just defeated by a woman who is in the middle of her PhD. She did not complete her PhD. She decided that she wanted to run for Congress, and it's actually pretty inspiring to see. You know, I would not want to be her PhD advisor at this point, because she's going to be a little busy. But wow. And I'm going to call it right now. I don't think Boris has the votes. Lasher was always the favorite for this race. I think he stood tall in his lane, and he knew exactly where he needed to appeal to. And the lack of a real kind of progressive backing for Boris, he had a lot of money, and he got a lot of money from different avenues, but he didn't have like that very professional progressive grouping that was backing him, and I don't think that it helped him in the end. Let's see here. What else? I'm gonna send a link to a few more friends. I have it here. So we want to take a brief break from New York. I have to say, in comparison to my last stream, it is absolutely amazing that they actually have the election results the night of, or at least 90%. This is what California needs to do. I would say that the Secretary of State of California absolutely needs to look into whatever New York is doing and adopt it, because this is absolutely what people who follow elections want. They want to see election results the night of. If you can't get 10%, you have to do it the next day. It's whatever. But if you're telling me you don't have 50% of the election results and it's 7 days after the election, people are going to feel like there's something wrong with what's happening, even if there is nothing at all, if you're trying to be thorough. And you just got to put out a result, and it's going to be 99.9% accurate, and you can make sure to fill out that last 10% as things come in. But this is how you run an election. This is really well done, and New York used to have extremely long times when it came to elections, but now they're on top of their stuff. So it's very good to see. And now we can start to see the last couple races without a call. I mean, I'm surprised the New York Times hasn't called it. Every percent coming in, DAC is expanding on her lead. I think it's over. I think it's totally over. And I think that DAC won. Now, we still got a race in Utah. I don't think that progressives will be as happy in Utah as they are in New York. But let's see. Yeah, you have this first district race, which is the only election we really are worried about, and then polls will close in 7 minutes. So I'm gonna find the time to continue talking about this stuff as of now. Oh, so here we are. I kind of want to see how this race here. No, I already saw that. I want to look into the 12th district here. Oh wait, no, not the 12th district. I want to look at the 7th district particularly. I think it keeps like loading and giving me the wrong district. Okay, yeah, here. So this is middle of Brooklyn and Queens right here, and this is probably where an area where Mamdani did the best. I mean, I believe that Bushwick is in this district, which is like one of the most progressive areas in the country. Same thing with Bed-Stuy. And they called this area here the Commie Quarter when he kind of dominated here. And it's crazy because, Valdez is winning the parts of Queens here, and is also winning in Brooklyn. Now, it is one thing to note that I believe that there's a very large constituency of Orthodox Jews that block vote, meaning the entire community votes as one, and they voted for Reynoso. So this is an even bigger defeat for Reynoso, that he had a very large constituency in that district voting for him as a block. Just to get, I mean, this is a 22%. No one predicted this. This is extremely surprising. Dan Goldman, disappointing loss. Players. I mean, Dan Goldman might get some ambassador job in the next administration. I don't think he has to worry about anything. And then maybe he can run for judge or something. Next Congress member, Brad Lander. Kate Conley won. Yes, Victory's Party. This one. 7 minutes ago, they said that it's still close. I'm calling it now. Hear me now, quote me later. DAC already won. They don't have any ballots that are going to go the other way. I know when an election is going to be over. I don't even think it's going to be that razor thin. I mean, 4% might be the final result on that margin, and that would be massive. Yeah, look at it. She expanded her lead over 2,000, now over 3,000, or 2,000 votes, 2,000 votes, and this is approaching a 4% victory. Which I think it'll end up being a 4 to 5% victory. I do want to see. Okay, yeah, Valdez got a little bit closer, but yeah, that's over. I do want to see now if there's any interesting tweets here. Yeah, that's old. Yep, that's gonna age very badly. Valdez wins. Yeah, Valdez completely defeated everyone. Now everyone's just now seeing that DAC is winning. I mean, this is a huge, powerful. Another thing that was kind of crazy was I don't think I saw a single internal that had the seventh race. They kept that super tight-lipped, and someone had to have known that Valdez was really performing the district. It's one of two things: either there's like a machine that really kind of went to work that got a lot of voters out, but I don't even know if that's true because ultimately this was pretty low turnout compared to some of these other elections. I mean, you have 80,000 votes here, almost all of them going to Lander, and then only 63,000 here, most of them going to Valdez. So, I mean, a lot of people didn't even vote. So I don't know if this is really indicative of like a, DSA mobilization front, but definitely I would say in the 13th district, they mobilized enough people and AE could not take on DAC in terms of the mobilization front. He definitely didn't have enough money going into the ground game, even if he had TV ads nonstop. And yeah, let's see what else is going on here. First district, polls close in 1 minute. So I will be able to jump into that very soon. Not as many people are tuning in live, but I expect a few people to watch some of the results later. So if you do have questions, put them in, but no need. I'm kind of just waiting for someone to call it at this point, because I do think that this is already over, and it's just waiting maybe for 1 more % for a call. I also think so. I would say Michael Lasher definitely won, and I would say that DAC is leading there. So in the 6th district, I don't think we've heard the end of Chuck Park, because we've already seen that some of the other districts didn't have that many votes. I mean, this is only 30,000 compared to like 100,000 in another area. If you got this type of mobilization that the progressive factions of the party are able to definitely able to do, you could see a Chuck Park rerun in 2028. And I mean, to be within 15% here and maybe a little bit closer too, if the last couple ballots swing his way, it could. Everyone knew that Grace Meng would win this, but it's a no guarantee going forward now. that she stays solidified in that position. And you're going to see her kind of maybe waddle away from some of the more democratic establishment politics that she has kind of engaged in the past. But you do have to know it is more of a moderate district in Queens, so we'll have to wait for 2028 for that. Oh wow, I might be humbled because there was a vote drop that was pretty good for Espelade. Or actually, I believe I am French. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it might have been the Bronx coming in, or it could just be an area of Manhattan that's just more leaning to him. But as 86% is in, it's a 3% race, 2,000 votes. I would say it's probably another 15,000 in total. So in order for A to win that, he'd have to get 9,000 out of that. And I just think that's going to be very hard, judging what places are already in and judging how most of Manhattan is already not his main constituency. I think one key thing that not as much is being discussed about right now is that one of the things that has not exactly been as indicative of one of the things that a lot of the analysis has missed right now is that these districts are all radically different. So I mean, Valdez and Reynosa, this is probably one of the most progressive districts in the country. I mean, you're not going to get this in Cleveland, Ohio. And pretty similar with Lander. I mean, this is, I believe it's Manhattan, or no, it's part of Manhattan and part of Brooklyn. So this definitely is a pretty progressive district. I actually think, in a way, that Lander might actually face primary challenges in the future if he isn't careful. But it's a much more progressive area. And then same thing, 13th district. This one is a little bit more marginal, but a lot of the voting lines are quite similar to like how they were back in the mayoral election. So, I mean, it was definitely closer here. I feel like this race was a lot closer because you have an incumbent that was very entrenched. But wow. Beers and mojitos are flowing at the AC's watch party. Your supporters buoyed by the successes of Claire Valdez. Okay. Yeah, it's probably a bad day for Espelade. Espiat. Okay, let's see if Utah has anything in. Tired of just covering New York all night. Okay, we have some results. And by results, it just looks like they pumped out uncontested district results. But yeah, don't expect Republicans to have any trouble re-winning those second, third, and fourth districts. This is Utah after all. But we're not getting any results out of this key first district. And it's 10 p.m. Eastern time. We have some in the third district. Just a couple of counties so far. I would expect any second now to some of these counties to drop, or really it's just the county of Salt Lake City. I don't know where else is in there, but that's going to start coming in very soon, and we'll get like a little bit of a picture. I would say that Ben McAdams is the major favorite here. You have three more progressive Democrats, and Farrell, Laban Mohammed, and Nate Lowen. I believe that the local progressives are backing Laban, and like Bernie Sanders and a few like national progressives, and their own constituency of local progressives are backing Nate. I definitely think that Nate's gonna come in a distant second behind Ben McAdams from the polling that I've seen. I could be wrong, but I just think that Utah is on a little bit of a different wavelength, and Ben McAdams is going to have a huge name recognition advantage there. I think that we still have to wait for the 12th and the 13th district, but okay, there's some votes just came in for here. I'm running out of things to say here, but I still want to wait for these results, at least in the first district. It looks like Utah is starting to come in fast. So I'll give it another 3 to 5 minutes, and then I'll jump back on it, and it should have a lot of results in. So 93%. I kind of wish we had more results from the 13th district just so I could be a little bit more confident. But I am fairly certain that DAC's won, and I already did call it, so I kind of have to stand on that. Looks like Brad Lander's having a victory party. Man, I would really kill to be at some of those victory parties in New York today. I'm sure that those are going to be very fun to be at. Okay, and then we have Maryland. So nothing much changed. We do have this one competitive election in Maryland tonight. 43% of the votes counted. Maryland's having a little bit of the California problem where they take too long to count their votes. But it's kind of interesting. The district's very split between Trone and McLean-Delaney, but it looks like there's really no guarantee that either have this race in the bag with how little has come in. I don't really have too much of an opinion on either candidate, really. They're pretty similar. It's just kind of an internal battle between a guy with a lot of money that was previously representing the district to the incumbent. So I would probably lean the incumbent, but I don't really have any opinions on positive opinions for either. Any other interesting elections here? So this is a key district. This is Hakeem Jeffries, who's the House Democratic leader. Famously, this might be an election that we'll see in the future. Let me look up the 8th district to see how it kind of looks. New York's 8th district represents a big swing of New York. I believe this is outer Brooklyn and let me see. Yeah, it's Brooklyn, and it might have a tiny little. No, I think it's all Brooklyn. And this is a wing in which was very like the rich South area that is very in favor of Cuomo over Mamdani. I mean, this is going to be a hard area to win over. And then you have this other part and that stretches into this very progressive area. Um, so I don't know how it would end, but if Hakeem Jeffries got primaried, it would be a very tough race that would probably have all of New York going at it. And Hakeem Jeffries has a large war chest. Um, so there was a challenger to Jeffries. I believe it's a state delegate of New York, Chiose. He was running for the DSA endorsement, but he did not get it. And he chose to drop out, thinking that he wouldn't get enough support to have an actual chance to challenge Hakeem. In 2 years, there might be a lot more momentum to challenge Hakeem if people are upset at how he's leading the party. I mean, he's likely to become the House the what's it called? He'll become the leader of the Democrats in the House, but I think that he'll become the Speaker of the House, which is the highest position in the House. He's kind of disliked in some areas of his district, whereas he has these very, very moderate, wealthy Democrat area in the southern area of Brooklyn. So I do expect him to do particularly well with that constituency, but he will have a completely different election in 2 years from now. I'm going to jump back to Utah. It's been 5 minutes, like I said. And we do have results from Utah, and it is the opposite of what I kind of expected here. I expected it to be like maybe Ben McAdams at like 45 and Nate Blount at about 30. But no, you have a guy in Ben McAdams, which is the former incumbent for this area. He is more politically moderate, and even though the district is more Democratic packed now, like it's probably like a Harris plus 10 district or something like that. Even though it's a packed district with a lot of Democrats, a lot of people are going to vote on the guy they know. And, this area might also have a lot of more moderate Democrats as well. And Ben McAdams, just with the analysis here, is going to be the kind of the guy that is most likely to win here and carry on. He might face a challenger in the future if people get mad at how he is in Congress, but I think he's going to be pretty protected. You also have to worry that Utah might gerrymander this district out of existence, so he might not even have that much of a legacy anyway. But the other thing is, Salt Lake City is rapidly expanding and growing in population, so we could really see in the future maybe some changes there. Now, with all of that today, I do believe that we pretty much have a lot of the ballots that we will have tonight already counted. So we don't know how this last race is going to go, which is DAC versus Adriano Espaillat. But we do have, they just called it for Michael Asher. So this is a tough run for Alex Boras, who really thought that he could do it. But Michael Asher was kind of the establishment favorite for this one. And he's going to be replacing Nadler in Congress. And yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna just declaratively say the reason they're not calling this is just because it could get closer. But I would say as of right now that Daria Eliza Avila Chevalier, I didn't practice it before, but yeah, Daria Eliza Avila Chevalier has won in the 13th district, which is completely out. There's a couple more ballots that just dropped, but it didn't change anything, which is completely unprecedented, I would say. People thought this would be a nail biter. Some people thought that Adriana would take it away, but no, it was. It looks like it'll be a victory for Daria Eliza, and she might have 1,000 votes to spare in the end too. Especially if she does carry up with the lead. I was originally thinking it was going to be more like 4%. It's now 3.3%. Might stick around that 3.5% margin. I don't really know where the last vote sinks are for where the ballots need to be counted, but I would say that if they're going to call this for Lasher, I would say she's literally like 500 votes from being called. Um, so we'll have to wait. But yeah, I mean, I would say this is going to be. I mean, a lot of people in online were talking about how in the first district that Democrats need to, coalesce, and they can't have people like Liban Mohammed or Michael Farrell, taking votes away from the only chance to beat Ben McAdams. But it looks like even if you had one strong progressive running, he wouldn't have beat Ben McAdams. And I think the reason for that is that he was the former congressman for the district. And, people know his name, people might have met him. Even if you have people who are more ideologically, progressive, they might vote for him just because they know his name. And you got to have one. I do think you have to have like a single. If you're going to go against a guy like that, you do need to have one candidate that just has the aura to really do it. And I don't think a triage or a triangle of three different progressive candidates all stealing each other's votes is going to be the correct way to go with that. Maybe in the future it'll change, but it's going to be pretty safe for McAdams, I would say, for now. There really hasn't been too much Republican results for tonight. I do know that there are a lot of races where Republicans ran, but the reason why I didn't focus on those races is because a lot of these are safe districts in New York, particularly the competitive ones. I mean, you're never going to see a Republican taking this one away. Now, it might actually be part of the reason why some of these districts have a little bit less votes is because there's just less Democrats in that area. So, like, this is more of an upstate district. This is also an upstate district. So there's just less Democrats voting. Whereas, like, here, it's like almost all Democrats in Manhattan. That's why 100,000 people voted in that primary. Probably because 0 people voted in the Republican primary. But that could also be some of the differences. But really, you can kind of see that I can try to pull up old data, but let me see the 2022 New York midterm election. This is 4 years ago. I think this would be a pretty good barometer because it's a midterm wave year. As you can see, there really weren't. This is when Goldman originally won his district. So he defeated Yuh-Line Niou, who was the progressive candidate at this time. And as you can kind of see, I mean, Mondaire Jones also took a lot of progressive support. This was not Dan Goldman's best district. He won by the hair of his chinny chin chin, and Yuh-Line Niou very much could have defeated him if the field wasn't so divided. Now that it's less divided, um, and it's just him versus Lander. Lander was able to mop the floor with them. So we have that. Um, let's see another district here. So the 17th district, Biaggi was a DSA challenger to SPM, who's no longer in Congress, I believe. And now it's Kate Conley. Let me see what Kate Conley's actual opinions are. Oh, it's I think they changed the districts. Oh, yeah. No, this is against a Republican. So that's why there's less votes here. Okay. It'll be a general election. So yeah, I'm just trying to see here. This was the 12th district, the old one, and yeah, Jerry Nadler is very popular there. He wasn't getting challenged for anything. But just let's get a comparison of how many people voted in the fifth, or no, not the 5th district. I don't care about that one. The 7th district. You had Nydia Velasquez, and she. Oh yeah, Paperboy Prince is kind of like a joke of a candidate. So Nydia Velasquez only got 25,000 votes, or no, only 25,000 people voted in this election. Now 66,000 people voted. That's a 4-year difference. And you can really attribute this to like a, huge mobilization effort within, the internal politics in New York. I mean, a lot of people, these are sleepy elections, midterm primaries. Not many young people think, oh, I need to wake up and vote for a midterm primary. And it's kind of a shame in America that, these only get like, 30-40% turnout. But they mobilized and they got Valdez in that seat. Let's jump to the 13th district in 2022. This is a pretty big thing to compare here. 13th district, 36,000 votes. So Espaillat did bring out a big coalition, but now it's 65,000 votes. The amount of votes doubled, and all the votes aren't even counted yet. It doubled the amount of votes. So Espaillat, for what it's worth, is getting the exact number of votes he got 4 years ago. But it doesn't matter because he's losing to, DAC, who got more votes than he did. And I would say it hasn't been officially called. I'm calling it DAC's in pole position to take this. And that's a huge victory for her. Let's see a couple other races. I mean, it's just interesting to see. This is good to see, though. As you see, more people are mobilized, more people are voting. And that's what we need more of in, this country. You need everyone turning out. And if the local groups are doing a good job and, getting their people out and voting, the way you combat that, if you don't like it, is you get your own coalitions to come out. And we're seeing more people, doing door knocking, more people doing canvassing, doing phone banking, and bringing people out to vote. And American democracy is healthy when more people are engaged in the political process, voting. And, I will also say it, when incumbents feel challenged. You can be in power for 20 years and do nothing, but if you're on your heels, you might feel more compelled to actually act and make the lives of your constituents better. And I think with 2 incumbents going down, 2 Democratic incumbents, it's a night where you feel that progress, or you feel that that chill of like each more establishment figure gets, that maybe they won't have a career in 2 years because they'll be the next one. I think Grace Meng is definitely on that list for someone who might get challenged out. And there's a few other incumbents here that are on the watch. This is another one. I mean, this is the 16th district. In the 16th district, I believe that was, I don't know exactly where it is, but let me pull up. Let's see. This 2022 result. I'm going to pull up the 16th district because this was Jamal Bowen's former district. I want to know where in New York it is. Yeah. So Bowman faced a primary challenger and won it. It's Westchester County and Bronx. So this is a little bit out of New York City. So yeah, it's kind of like right here, and then Westchester. So he might face some challenging, a challenger in a future as an incumbent, but he's already pretty old, so I don't know if that's gonna change much. But yeah, we really have a lot to look forward to. Anything else out of Utah before I start tuning down the coverage? $60 to $24. Yeah, no, Ben McAdams has that in the bag. No question about that. And yeah, I think a lot of these ballots might get counted tomorrow or the following day. We might get another 2-3% for some of these districts, but I think this is everything we'll really know of tonight. But calling it, Avila Chevalier has really stunned everybody. And I would say I'm not even talking about it that much because Valdez won by over 20%, which is not something anyone predicted would happen. And it did happen. So she did win by over 20%. And at this point, it's not even just a victory. It's absolutely stunning how much he won by. And I will say, if you're the DSA, you really have to wonder. I mean, could we have ran another candidate on this slate, or could we have, backed Daria Liza a little bit more and made it a little bit less of a struggle for her to get across the finish line? I definitely think that is a question. Also, I mean, Brad Lander, this is against an incumbent completely dominating there. Oh, I want to see how Yuli New did in her election. Let's see. I don't remember the district. So I think this is the House, yeah. And, a lot of these are contested races, but unfortunately, I'm not as tuned into New York politics to really have too much of an opinion or too much of an analysis. But there's a few incumbents that did get taken down. Not as common, but I do see several incumbents did get taken down within the assembly. Now let's see what the Senate. Oh, Zellner. Wow, that's crazy. Zellner, who ran for mayor, it looks like he just got taken down. I don't know who this is, but that's going to be a key victory for the, whoever challenged him. Actually, wait. Is that who I think it is? Yeah, Zellner Marie. Or no. Oh, I could be wrong. but I think that is him. Oh yeah, Yuli New looks like she got beat out in her race. Honestly, she should have probably ran against Goldman again if she wanted to win that. But yeah. With that, I think that is everything I have to cover for today. So yeah, that'll be all. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll try to cover more primaries in the future, and I'll be more prepared to do it. Today, I was in a rush to just jump on it, but I will be more prepared in the future. Thank you, and thank you for watching.